The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, recording has been started. So, unfortunately, we're dealing with continued chances for showers and thunderstorms for the rest of the week. Although today is probably going to be the day where you have the most coverage of showers and storms across the area. And we have extended that flood watch through midnight to account for any additional storms today. And it just won't take much rain for to cause any additional issues. And so diving straight into things, just the main points. Again, just we're expecting this to continue throughout the week with the greatest threat today north of the Virginia-North Carolina border. And still expecting isolated to scattered stuff later in the week, along with potential heat headlines as we head heat advisories potentially as we head into toward the end of the week, just due to the heat and combination of the heat and humidity. And marine conditions are generally benign outside of storms. Again, as you can see, just continued chances for showers and storms throughout the week. Maybe a little bit less in the way of storms tomorrow and especially Thursday, before you see a bit of an increase by Friday and Saturday. And again, similar to what we've been seeing, I mean, these storms will be of the pop-up variety. So, some areas are going to see a lot of rain in a short amount of time, while a lot of other areas see much less in the way of rain. Again, locally, up to 7 to 9 inches of rain was observed in the Tri-Cities area, with several reports of flash flooding and really severe flash flooding, as we did issue a flash flood emergency for that area last night. And again, we'll go over this more in detail in a little bit, but the flash flood guidance in these areas is below an inch in an hour. So that means it will take a quick, pretty much any storm that sits there for 15, 20 minutes will drop enough rain to cause additional flash flooding in these areas that, the ground is already so saturated, it just cannot take any more in the way of rain. And you can see this gauge, Lieutenant Run Creek at Petersburg last night. This is, granted, there's a short period of record, but this is the highest we've seen that gauge get, and that's well above major flooding. In fact, 4 feet above our major flood threshold, and it tracks well with the issues we've had, and there's still some lingering flooding there as well. And again, this is our area of greatest concern, with a flood watch in effect through midnight. Again, highly localized areas of 2 to 4 inches of rain that'll fall in an hour or two are likely, although most areas, as is typical with scattered storms, see less than an inch. And again, it will take very little rain to cause flash flooding in these areas, especially in the areas circled in red, kind of from the Richmond Metro, Tri-Cities, Farmville, up through Tappahannock and the Northern Neck as well. And these areas up here saw some significant flooding last night as well. And again, this is the flash flood guidance, kind of zooming in to the Richmond Metro and Tri-Cities. And this is just showing you it'll only take, a half to 3/4 of an inch of additional rain in these areas to cause flash flooding, and even less right where that bullseye of 7 to 9 inches was. So that's all you need, and this is in an hour, which any storm would be able to drop that. So these areas just need to pay particular attention to any additional storms that do develop this afternoon. And again, today the threat is greatest with less coverage of storms expected tomorrow and Thursday, although just because we're not highlighted, it doesn't mean that the threat is zero. It's just that we're expecting there to be a lot less in the way of storms. Although, I mean, if one storm forms over the wrong spot and sits there for a half hour, that could cause issues here. So I'm going to just switch screens for a second and kind of try to time the storms later today. This is one of our models, just simulating what could happen. Here's the timestamp at the top. So I'll kind of step through each hour this afternoon and evening. And you can see, scattered storms expected after 2 p.m. and, rounds of storms continue through the evening. Obviously, this is one possible solution, and it's the science isn't there to really depict exactly where a storm will form, 6 to 12 hours out. But I mean, there's the potential. We're expecting scattered storms across the area this afternoon and evening, continuing through around midnight before they finally dissipate as we head into early Wednesday morning. So that's just one possible solution, but we have high confidence that there will be storms this afternoon. Obviously, where those form is a question, but the highest coverage will be north of the Virginia-North Carolina border. And unfortunately, that includes the areas that have already seen way too much rain in the past, few days here. Switching back to the briefing. Tomorrow, the storms mainly will be along and north of I-64. And Thursday, the coverage will be even lower than tomorrow. And again, we're emphasizing, local, even though the average amounts won't be that high, localized amounts of, a few inches of rain are likely in thunderstorms. And then just stepping through, this is precipitation and thunder chances, just showing, chances are highest today and a little bit lower tomorrow. And then Thursday, we're expecting much less in the way of storm coverage across the area. And scattered storms continue, through the weekend. Obviously, it's a somewhat hit and miss, but it'll be somewhat hit and miss like it always is with storms. But again, the flooding threat will persist through the weekend as well, just considering all the rain we have received. And in terms of severe weather, not really expecting any organized severe weather, although a few strong storms each day with damaging winds capable of tree or power line damage can't completely be ruled out. And lastly, getting into the heat, especially Thursday and Friday, there is the potential for heat advisories across part of the area. And we will kind of dive into more detail on this later in the week. And Thursday and Friday look like the hottest days, and with slight temperatures cooling to around average over the weekend, with, as you can see in the table, some potential for heat indices over 105 across a decent portion of the area, especially on Thursday, where we'll have the least coverage of storms. And then just precipitation, shower and thunderstorm chances continue each day through the weekend and into early next week. And for any interests down to our southwest, there is potential for a tropical depression or tropical storm in the next few days here. So with that, I'm more than happy to take any questions. I will stop the recording.